Welcome to Natural English Talk.
Welcome to the Natural English Talk podcast. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jake. It's good to be here.
You know, Jake, I was standing in my kitchen this morning, just looking at the coffee machine. The sun was barely up, and I had this strange feeling of resistance.
I know that feeling well. It's like you're looking at something you do every single day, something that should be automatic, but your brain is just saying, not yet.
Exactly. It's just water and beans. It takes 2 minutes, but for some reason, standing there in the quiet, it felt like a much bigger task than it actually is.
It's funny how the simplest things can feel heavy before the day has even properly started. I sometimes find myself just staring at the kettle, waiting for the motivation to even reach for the handle.
That's the thing. We want the structure. I like having my morning coffee at the same time, but there's this friction. It's like a part of me is pushing back against the very routine I created for myself.
I think we often underestimate how much energy it takes just to start. Even if it's a routine we enjoy, like a good breakfast or a hot drink, that first step across the kitchen floor feels like a choice you're not quite ready to make.
And then you start questioning yourself. You think, why is this hard? It's just breakfast. You feel tired before you've even done anything.
Right, you're already negotiating with yourself. You think maybe you'll just skip the proper breakfast and have a piece of toast later, even though you know you'll feel better if you stick to the plan.
It's a quiet kind of exhaustion. It's not that I'm physically tired from work yet. It's just the mental weight of beginning. The house is still, and that silence makes the routine feel louder, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. The pressure of the whole day is sitting right there in the kitchen with you. Even if you're just making toast, you're aware that this is the first of 1,000 small things you have to do.
And I found myself just leaning against the counter, thinking, I haven't even started, and I'm already looking for a way out. It's such a small moment, but it feels so significant in that early light.
It's that gap between wanting to be the person who has a productive morning and just being a person who wants to sit in the dark for another 10 minutes.
That's it. The friction between the plan and the reality. It's a strange way to start the day, feeling like you're already behind because you're hesitating over a coffee cup.
It doesn't get any easier when you finally move toward the door either. I had my gym shoes sitting right by the bench this morning, ready for a quick stretch before leaving, and I just looked at them like they were an obstacle.
It's that automatic habit that suddenly isn't automatic anymore. You plan these things to save time or feel better, but in the moment, they feel like an extra chore you've assigned yourself.
Exactly. I stood there with my keys in my hand, looking at my to-do list for 30 seconds, and I started feeling really frustrated with myself. I thought, Jake, it's a list. It takes 1 minute to read. Why are you acting like this is a marathon?
We can be so hard on ourselves in those moments. There's this inner critic that starts whispering that you're lazy or that something is wrong with you because you're struggling with something so tiny.
That's the part that hurts the most. It's not the task, it's the self-talk. I felt like I was broken because I couldn't just do the 5-minute routine I promised myself I'd do. It makes the walk to the car feel very heavy.
I've done that too. You end up leaving the house feeling defeated before you've even encountered a real problem. The tension comes from failing your own expectations over something that's supposed to be simple.
And you start to wonder if everyone else is just gliding through their mornings while you're stuck having a silent argument with a pair of sneakers or a notebook.
It's a lonely feeling. You see people outside walking their dogs or jogging, and you assume they don't have that friction. You feel like you're the only one fighting against a simple to-do list.
I think we forget that the list is just paper. It's the meaning we give it, the idea that if we can't do the small stuff, we won't be able to handle the big stuff later.
That's a lot of pressure to put on a morning stretch or a quick review of your day. No wonder we feel like we're failing before we've even turned the key in the lock. Then you finally get to the office or you sit down at your desk and you think the momentum will just take over. You have this daily workflow, the same 5 tabs you open, the same messages you check, but today it feels like moving through water.
I had that exact moment around 10 a.m. today. I was looking at my inbox and the inner voice started up again. It kept saying, "You've done this 1,000 times. Why does it feel like you're learning it for the first time?"
It's that should be easier by now trap. We assume that repetition makes things weightless, but sometimes the repetition is exactly what makes it feel heavy. The familiarity of the task makes it feel less like a goal and more like a burden.
Right. And then the minor tasks start to pile up. A 2-minute email, a quick filing job, a follow-up call. Individually, they are nothing, but together they create this disproportionate mental weight. You just sit there staring at the screen, feeling overwhelmed by things that shouldn't even register.
I find that when that happens, I start overcomplicating things to avoid doing them. I'll spend 20 minutes thinking about the best way to organize a spreadsheet instead of just entering the data. It's a way of hiding from the boredom of the routine.
It's exhausting, isn't it? The energy you spend feeling frustrated about the work is often more than the energy it would take to actually do the work. I felt more tired after an hour of starting to work than I did after 3 hours of actually doing it.
And there's that quiet frustration that builds up. You look at your colleagues, and they seem to be clicking away, making progress. You feel like you're carrying this extra bag of rocks that nobody else can see.
I think we forget that everyone has those rock days. But when you're in it, you just feel like you've lost your rhythm. You're out of sync with your own habits, and that makes even a simple workflow feel like a mountain. It usually hits me right in the middle of the afternoon, that 3 p.m. slump where the light changes in the room and all my energy just seems to evaporate. I know I should get up, maybe take that short walk
I know that pause. It's a quiet moment where you have a choice. You think about the routine that's supposed to help, like a 10-minute break from the screen, and you start doubting if it's even worth the effort of putting on your shoes.
Exactly. You start telling yourself, it's only 10 minutes. What difference is it really going to make? The inertia is so strong. You're caught between the intention of taking care of yourself and this heavy feeling that staying still is the only thing you can manage.
There's a lot of friction in that doubt. When you're low on energy, your brain looks for reasons to skip the good habits. You think, I'm already tired, so walking will just make me more tired, even though you know deep down the fresh air usually helps.
It's a strange mental tug of war. I'll spend 15 minutes debating whether to take a 5-minute walk. By the time I finish arguing with myself, the window of time is gone, and I'm still sitting in the same spot, feeling even more drained.
And that's where the guilt creeps in. It's not just about the walk anymore. It's about the fact that you couldn't even manage a small positive choice. It makes the rest of the afternoon feel a bit darker.
It really does. You feel like you've missed an opportunity to reset, and now you're just dragging yourself toward the evening. It's such a small thing, just a walk, but the decision to skip it feels like a heavy weight you're carrying into the next hour.
We treat these routines like they are optional until we skip them. Then we realize they were the things keeping us afloat. But in that moment of afternoon tiredness, it's so hard to see the value in just one small step. And then evening arrives, and that's usually when I face the first real collapse of the plan. I have this routine where I'm supposed to do a bit of light reading or maybe some gentle stretching to transition away from work, but instead I find myself on the sofa scrolling through my phone.
I did that tonight. I actually looked at my yoga mat, which was already rolled out on the floor, and I just walked around it. I sat down and told myself, I've had a long day. I deserve to just do nothing.
It's the inner negotiation. We start bargaining with ourselves. We convince ourselves that skipping the routine is a form of self-care or comfort, even though we know the routine is what actually makes us feel rested.
Right. It's that immediate relief of saying, not tonight. It feels like a win in the moment because you're choosing the path of least resistance. But there's this tiny shadow of awareness in the back of your mind, knowing you're going to regret it when you wake up feeling stiff or restless.
It's a conflict between who we are right now, tired and wanting comfort, and who we want to be tomorrow. We prioritize the now so heavily, but then we have to live with the later.
And the justification is so loud. I'll tell myself I'll do double the work tomorrow, or that I'm listening to my body, when really I'm just giving in to that inertia we talked about earlier.
It's funny how we can be so persuasive when we're trying to talk ourselves out of something good. We become these master lawyers, building a case for why tonight is the one night we should just let everything slide.
But then, an hour later, the comfort of the sofa starts to feel a bit hollow. You've skipped the thing that brings relief, and you're left with this lingering sense of having let a small promise to yourself break. It's the same feeling that hits right after dinner. For me, it's the kitchen again. I look at the few dishes in the sink or the crumbs on the counter, and the idea of tidying up feels like a massive project.
There's something about the repetition of it that feels particularly heavy at that hour. You've done it yesterday, you'll do it tomorrow, and suddenly that cycle feels overwhelming. It's not that the task is hard, it's just that it never ends.
Exactly. I find myself standing there with a sponge in my hand, feeling this quiet resentment. I'm annoyed at the dishes, I'm annoyed at the crumbs, and I'm mostly annoyed that I have to spend another 10 minutes of my life doing the same thing all over again.
It's emotional friction. When we're bored of a routine, it stops being a habit and starts being a demand. You start thinking about all the other things you'd rather be doing, even if those things are just sitting still.
And the more you resent it, the longer it takes. I'll spend 5 minutes just moving things around on the counter without actually cleaning anything. It's like a protest against my own life.
I've felt that. You're tired of the shoulds. You should prep for tomorrow. You should clear the table. You should put things away. When those shoulds pile up at the end of a long day, they feel like they're stealing your remaining peace.
It's a strange mix of being bored and overwhelmed at the same time. You're bored by the simplicity of the task, but overwhelmed by the effort it takes to just care enough to finish it.
And yet, if you leave it, it's the first thing you see in the morning. So you're stuck between the frustration of doing it now and the weight of knowing it will be waiting for you later. By the time I finally get into bed and the lights are out, that's when my mind starts the review. I lie there replaying all those little moments of friction, the coffee, the walk I didn't take, the dishes.
It's like a highlights reel, but only of the things that felt heavy. I find myself wondering why consistency feels so fragile. You can have 5 great days, but then one day feels like you're trying to walk through mud, and you start questioning everything.
We're so quick to blame ourselves. I start thinking, maybe I'm just not a disciplined person, or why can't I just be one of those people who does things without thinking? The confusion makes it hard to actually rest.
I do the same thing. I'll be staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out the code. Like if I just find the right app or the right morning routine, this resistance will go away. But it never really does.
It's the realization that these routines are always going to have some weight to them. They're not magical, they're just choices. But at 11 p.m., those choices feel like failures if they weren't perfect.
It makes the idea of tomorrow feel a bit daunting.
There's a vulnerability in that. Knowing that you're probably going to feel that same resistance tomorrow morning, and you don't have a simple answer for why it's there.
It's a very quiet kind of struggle. It's not a big life crisis, just this constant small battle with the things that are supposed to be easy. And then the sun comes up and you're back in that kitchen again. It's a new day, and there's that familiar urge to just reset everything. You think, today is a day I'll do it all perfectly.
I've felt that this morning. It's a mix of hope and skepticism. You want to believe that today the coffee will be easy and the walk will be effortless, but there's that little voice in the back of your mind saying, "We've been here before."
It's like we're caught between wanting simplicity and fearing the resistance. You want the routine to be your friend, but you're already bracing yourself for the fight. It's a strange way to live, isn't it? Expecting the struggle.
Maybe the key is just accepting that the friction is part of the routine. It's not a sign that we're failing, it's just part of being human. Some days the gears just turn a little slower.
I like that. If we expect the weight, maybe it doesn't feel so heavy when we pick it up. It's just the way it is. Not a problem to solve, just a moment to move through.
Exactly. It's okay if it's hard. Even the simple things.
Well, I think that's a good place to leave it for today. This has been a very grounding conversation, Anna.
It really has, Jake. Thank you for sharing those moments. And thank you to everyone for listening to the Natural English Talk podcast. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jake. We'll talk to you next time.